Welcome back, guys. This is part 2 of our Revit Basic Walls video series. If you haven't seen part 1, then be sure to check that out and subscribe for more regularly released Revit content. Let's look at our drawing conditions for the wall. I'm going to do a modification to this wall. So let's select it, edit type, and I'm going to increase the cavity. So I go into the structure and then I'm going to increase the cavity to 400 just so that we can play around with things. So now that we've adjusted that cavity, we can see that the cavity is wide open to the element. What we want to do is return this outer brick face back into the wall. So to do that, we click on the wall. I'm just going to move this to the side here. So we click on the wall, we go into edit type, and then right in this list here, we have wrapping at inserts and wrapping at ends. You also find this exact same thing when you go into edit your structure. So you go to edit and you have it down here, the default wrapping at inserts, which currently says do not wrap, and at ends, which currently says none. When you're editing a wall, you can also click on this preview button here, and that gives you a plan of what the wall edits will be like in the project. So if we play around with the wrapping at inserts where the door is, we can select one of the wrap conditions. So the exterior side, as mentioned earlier, is to the top, which is the brick, and so I want to wrap that exterior side at insert. So if I select that, that's what's going to happen to this wall. At the end, I also want to actually do the same thing. For this preview, you're going to see that wrap in place once I select one of the options. So at ends, I'm going to change that to exterior, and then you can see that the brick wall wraps around to complete the wall and close off the cavity. If you choose the interior side, then it's only going to wrap things which are outside of this core boundary. For our case, we don't have anything on the interior side, so if we go to change that to interior, it's not going to do anything. So let's change that to exterior and press OK. So now we see that our wall has correctly wrapped where the door inserts and goes beyond it. We also see that the wall has correctly wrapped at the end. Now let's go on to our other wall with the integrated lining and do the same thing. So we select our wall, we go to edit type, and this time we're going to change the cavity to 300. Now this wall is different because it has the interior side outside of that core boundary, and then it also has the exterior side outside of the core boundary, similar to our previous wall. So let's do the wraps again. So at inserts, so where the doors are and where the windows are, let's do that to exterior, and at ends we can do that to exterior, and we can see in the preview here that that's wrapped. But what if we change that to interior? What does that do? So that wraps the other way. So let's try and see what happens when we do interior for this wall and click OK. So again, that wall has wrapped correctly where the door is, and one thing to note is if we flip this door, the wrap is going to change because it's dependent on where the door location line is. We'll do that in a future video with regards to creating a floor plan. One other thing to note is the tools available to you when you're drawing your walls. So if we go back to architecture and wall architectural, let's select our wall without the lining, so no lining, and let's look at the tools that we have. In the settings, you can automatically set a lot of these before you even start drawing your wall. So you can set the height, you can select which levels you want to go to. This is a blank project, so it only has level 1, so we leave this as unconnected, and then we can control the height manually. We have the wall location line, so this one's quite important. This is where your wall is drawn and is a datum where all wall modifications take place. So if you change the build-up of a wall, then it goes about this location line. So if I go to select wall center line, it's always going to navigate around the center line. If I select one of the faces, so for instance exterior or interior, it goes about that line. So let's select the finish face exterior and draw a wall in place. I'm going to select the edge of the floor, and it's flipped the wrong way, so I'm going to select the spacebar, and that flips it the other way around, and I'm just going to draw a wall in place here. Now if we change the build up of that wall, these walls are going to change depending on that location line. So if I select this wall, you can see the location line as well. So this node here, which is the drag endpoint, that's located at the location line. So any modifications would only go to one side of that line. That would mean that the alignment of this wall always remains on the edge of this floor. For this wall, it was drawn to the center line. So any modifications to the thickness and buildup of this wall will go equally in both directions. So let's change the buildup of this wall. Go into edit type. I'm going to hide this preview box just so that you guys can see, and I'm going to shrink this properties panel down. I'll go into edit type, and then I'm going to change our cavity back to 50 mil. And then once I hit apply, you're going to see the changes happen to both walls. So keep an eye out on the highlighted one, because that's going to change in both directions, and the one going to the up down direction, that's going to remain in place aligned with the edge of the slab, and it's only going to modify to one side. So I hit apply, and you can see that that's changed quite nicely, and the other one has changed differently. So we can OK out of that. If you did want to change that location line, any wall can be altered after the fact. So if you select a wall, you can come to the properties panel and the location line can be changed there. So I can change this to finish face exterior as well, and then hit apply. And that's the end of the video. Be sure to hit the notification bell to be notified for part 3 of our Revit Basic Walls video series. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.